Seems like you were a startup just a few years ago. Okay, well, maybe 10 years ago. But things today are happening faster than you ever expected. Lately, there's just too many things to take care of, that are distracting you from the bigger picture. Greetings, everyone, and welcome from the Technology Association of Georgia. It's April 19th, 2016, and this is Tech Talk. I'm your host, Frank Baia. Everybody's talking about how competitive it is to find good people. But anyone that owns and operates a business, small, medium, or large, knows full well the challenges of managing people. From payroll and HR administration to employee benefits, training and development, workers' compensation, affordable health insurance. Oh, yes, and then government compliance. In a word, yikes. On this edition of Tech Talk, we focus on business performance solutions, the ones you face every day that enable you as an owner to be more systematic and strategic about the role that people play in the success of your business. Up to the Tech Talk, Joanne McClelland, a top industry professional and recognized business performance advisor for over 2 decades. Joanne has experience consulting with emerging and rapid growth companies in Atlanta and has developed people strategies aligning organizational goals and culture. Bottom line, Joanne is all about the bottom line and has helped companies increase revenues, increase cash flow velocity, and increase profitability. Joanne is an advisor with Insperity, a startup itself back in '86. Today, publicly traded, serves more than 100,000 businesses with more than 2 million employees. The company itself has more than 2,200 corporate employees and revenues, $2.6 billion. A Tech Talk with the solutions you need. It's when you're no longer hiring friends and family and are hiring strangers. Then at the same time, trying to tackle healthcare reform, company benefits, payroll processing, employer liability, and compliance issues. Alone? I don't think so. Not when growing companies know full well that business performance solutions are what allow them to operate confidently in today's dynamic digital global economy. It's a Tech Talk that every business owner needs to hear sooner than waiting any later, trying to balance the focus of that company's true competitiveness while challenged by the supercharged, super fast-paced new economy HR environment. It's about professional employer organizations and business operator optimization solutions as we speak with performance advisor at Insperity, Joanne McClelland. This edition of Tech Talk is brought to you by GlobalSpeak.com, new media consultants, corporate video and audio communications, video and audio production and distribution, live and virtual event production. Tag TV and Tag Radio is a service of GlobalSpeak.com, creatively delivering powerful marketing, video, and audio solutions. Joanne, welcome to Tech Talk.
Thanks, Frank. It's great to be here.
Without a question, everybody can talk about equipment, location, facilities, but the truth of the matter is it always comes down to people, good people, getting good people, keeping good people. In the innovation economy, it just seems to be more and more challenging. Even for that matter, the whole idea of what the workforce in the future is going to look like. I think it's a great opportunity for our listeners to gain some insight from someone that has been in the trenches, if you will, and is at the front lines not only of what has been going on in the past, near past, but even more so what's going on as far as the future is concerned. So let's talk a little bit about.
Absolutely.
Let's talk a little bit about that. Let's go into and maybe cover a little bit. I know you are based with a lot of values and you clearly have a mission. But maybe go into it from a broader perspective on, relating to let's say, the future of what a workforce is going to look like.
Yeah, I mean, now more than ever, the face of the workforce is changing. Whether you stop and think about the fact that you've got millennials that are working in the same environment with baby boomers and Gen X and Gen Y, you talk about diversity and what those faces actually look like and the amount of talent that is brought to the table and the amount of talent that will eventually be moving into the leadership positions. So we keep a very close eye on what is happening in the marketplace with the talent of today and really work towards helping employers develop strategies that can take their business where it's going to, from where it is today to the vision of the future, and do that through their people strategy.
Now, one of the things that I know, one of the both challenges and opportunities we have at Tech Talk is we don't deal with any single vertical as far as the industry is concerned. We deal with it from a horizontal standpoint. So whether it's CRM or it's internet security or fintech or health IT,
right.
It really doesn't make a lot of difference. A lot of the fundamentals begin to be, start hearing the same thing sort of over and over and over and over again, certainly things like cloud computing, for example. And one of the concerns that a lot of people have in letting loose of their legacy technology and having to deal with sort of an unknown environment. And then on top of that, one of the questions I'll often pose to a programmer or a technologist that's dealing in that kind of consulting is say, how do I know as an entrepreneur that I even have a problem? How do I know there's a solution out there when I don't even know what some of the innovations are that have come up over the last couple of years? I guess where I'm going is I think that one of the things you're talking about is the fact that you can sort of, in a sense, delegate or give away what would have been a management responsibility that took a lot of time and in most cases most people didn't have the experience to do, and let that be kind of taken off the table, and you can focus on your business. Am I correct about that, or?
Absolutely. I mean, you're absolutely correct about that. And what ends up happening with entrepreneurs is basically what happens is they wake up one day and they have an idea for an organization or for their company and a way to make money, especially in the tech industry. But from the moment that they hire their first employee to 7 years after they let go of their last employee, they are an employer. It is game on. And that is not necessarily where their experience and expertise lies. So a lot of our clients are on that verge of rapid growth where their organization has, maybe it's 5, 7, 8 years old, or whether it's on a particular revenue threshold, and they're ready to take their organization to the next level, like you said, letting go of the legacy technology, letting go of what got them to where they are today, and partnering with the know-how, whether it's new leadership within the organization, new technologies with the organization, hiring and investing in people that have done and been successful with emerging growth organizations and know how to take their organization to the next level.
Well, you're talking about, go ahead.
That's really hard, but from what I see in my experience is that's really hard because entrepreneurs are interrupted in their profit opportunities because they have the obligations of running the day-to-day business. So as they transition from their legacy technology and their legacy products into their future and the vision of their future, it involves some letting go, and whether it's letting go of processes or letting go of existing employees and bringing know-how in from outside organizations and people that have done it before, or investing in outsourcing organizations, it's letting go of that fear of loss of control and embracing the passion and the strategy for where you're looking to go next.
I got to tell you, being one, my reaction is probably a little bit distorted because I am a first-generation entrepreneur who deals with a business that I know the cost of the lights, I know how much equipment I've got, and my employees are almost an extension of my family. I feel like I know them and they know me, and even in some cases when I've got to let somebody go because they're not performing, it can really be a tough call because I got these personal relationships and these trusting. And so on one hand, you constantly hear about the culture of the company and how it's got to project forward, and there's got to be a purpose to it and all that kind of thing. I guess where I'm at is, boy, you're talking for me to take a quantum leap in trust. I mean, go into something like, how does it work from a legal level? I mean, do they work for you? Do they work for me? And how does that all come together? I mean, HR decisions, for example.
Yeah, that's really two questions, because from an HR perspective, you can have someone come in and strategize with you on how to leverage your people in order to drive outcomes. Changing your internal policies, changing your internal procedures in order to take your organization to the next level. I struggle when I talk to business owners. It's exactly what you just described. You know, I've got Sarah that has been with my organization for 12 years. She's like family. We have Thanksgiving together. But at some point in time, Sarah plateaus, and she cannot bring the level of expertise to your organization that she was able to when you were a startup. You're rapid growth now. You're not a startup anymore. So the choices are, I mean, it's one of those decisions that separates the men and the women from the boys and the girls. It's what do I do in order to I either take my organization to the next level and hire somebody that has the skill set that Sarah has plateaued at, or I make the decision to stay small. And that's okay. That is okay. And you continue to have your current product offering. But if you don't make the right choices and let go of the right things, it's Einstein's definition of insanity. You can't expect better results without making some hard choices.
Well, as you kept saying let go, I kept thinking of that cliche about the guy who falls off a cliff and he's grabbing onto the branch and he's praying,
right.
And he says, save me. And she says, the angel says, well, let go of the branch and I'll save you. And he said, no, save me first, and then I'll let go of the branch.
That's right.
You know,
that's right. That's the perfect analogy. From a legal perspective, there's the professional employer organization, which is what Insperity is. And really what that means is that we stand shoulder to shoulder with the entrepreneurs out there as it relates to their employer-related business risk, whether it's compliance or administration or risk of your profit leaks and labor costs. But at the end of the day, the client always has the latitude to make their own decisions. They've selected to work with a professional employer organization because, hey, I don't know how to be an employer, and I didn't get into business to be an employer. So, you know, like-minded organizations that are proactive and progressive are a very good fit for the co-employment model. But Insperity or any PEO, that co-employment relationship, that is something that is built in to protect you, but you don't give up the control or the ownership or any of the decision-making. That still falls on the president or the CEO.
You know, you just want to say, God, this is, of course, this is exactly the kind of thing that would be part of what we're going to call whatever the insight economy, the innovation economy. It's changing so dynamically anymore. I don't think we have a name for it.
Right.
And in that environment, one of the few areas that ever gets talked about is the flexibility of and the dynamics that are involved in scaling and dealing with growth and dealing with rapid change and all of the things that I'm supposed to be keeping up with as an executive or as an entrepreneur. And one of the things I seem they don't even ever come to the question is what, as far as employment is concerned. Now, you use the term professional employer organization. Thought leadership, is that something that you guys are doing and are leading the way in that, or is that a movement that we're going to hear more about or see more on?
Yeah, actually, Paul Savardi, our CEO, really spearheaded the PEO industry, professional employer organizations. And what that means is we have the know-how to be employers, just like our clients have the know-how in web hosting. So I couldn't go in and tell you anything about web hosting, but I can certainly talk to you about people strategy on how to attract the best talent, how to retain the best talent, how to develop a strong culture that has all of your associates aligned. Because organizations, you have a sales strategy, you have a finance strategy, you have operations strategy, and there's people that are involved in all of that. They're the magic. They're what brings those strategies to life. But if you're not hiring the associates with the right profile to get the job done, to take your organization to the next level, that can inhibit your success and inhibit your growth.
Well, now you're touching on it a little bit. Let's go a little bit more granular, as they say. Let's talk about the idea of upscaling their workforce.
Right.
How does that go? How does that happen when they're dealing with you, or how does that happen when they're dealing alone? And how do they handle that equation?
Right. Okay. So there's the problem side of having people and that's the first two levels of HR. Level one is I've got payroll, I've got benefits, I've got workers' comp, I have all these vendors. It's very administrative. It's very transactional oriented. That's where partnering with an organization that can give you $80 million worth of HR technologies and employee-facing technologies, so your employees in California and in Texas and in Illinois can still be just as plugged into headquarters in Atlanta as your headquartered associates. The second level of HR is more of that process-driven or event-driven, and this is where real risk occurs. Something has happened in the organization. You've received an EEOC claim. You've got the Department of Labor coming in and doing an investigation on your exempt versus non-exempt and overtime policies. You had 2 employees that get into a fist fight in the office. It happens so much more often than you would think. Or you've received a claim of sexual harassment. What is an entrepreneur to do? I mean, you don't call your CPA for that. You don't call your attorney. You call your Fortune 100 level HR infrastructure that's automatically built in and say, what do I do? This has never happened to me before. Well, as professional employers, we've seen it all. It's never a first time. It's partnering with an organization that has the know-how to move you through that harassment claim, to move you through that investigation. And with the beautiful construct of co-employment, you're offsetting your risk and your liability risk because we're shoulder to shoulder with you with skin in the game. If there's a sexual harassment claim, we're named in that claim, in that lawsuit as well. So it's a tremendous transfer of risk. And in that particular area. And then the third area, and I'll give you a story, that's the outcome-driven area of HR, and that's really my favorite part. That's where the sizzle is. So it's thinking about that's where you're poised to think about your business differently as it relates to your people strategy, and I'll give you an example. I was working with a tech company out of Bethesda, Maryland, and they had a single sales rep here in Atlanta. And he was producing about $1 million a year in revenues, and they wanted to double that. And they just were not seeing how it was going to happen with this associate. So we did an evaluation, took a profile of who it was that they were hiring. Typically, it was somebody with maybe 7 to 9 years worth of experience, second or third job out of college. They could pound the phones and get demos all day long, but they could not get the deal through procurement. Could not do it. So so we sat down, rewrote the profile of the ideal candidate. Hey, instead of paying them $65,000 a year, let's pay them $110,000 a year. Let's hire somebody with 20 years worth of experience. Net, they followed those recommendations, brought somebody, with 20 years worth of experience on. Within the first 6 months, he had signed on a new logo to the tune of $500,000. That is a sales problem with an HR solution. That is Tier 3 outcome-driven HR.
Wow, I like it. I think our listeners are going to like it too because, again, I mentioned it earlier that in so many cases there's so much change, so much dynamics going on that if I'm a business operator, even an executive, no less an entrepreneur or an owner, I can't keep up with it all. I just can't keep up with it all. And here's a case where you've cited some of the things that you even have a sense of perspective that you lose because you think you're working in that box. We've tried it all before. It can't be us. It's got to be something else out there. And here's a case where maybe it wasn't. Maybe it is you. Let's do this one, and we're quickly running out of time, and I apologize, Joanne, because the stuff is so valuable. I'd like to continue. But I guess I mentioned it earlier about not even knowing what my problem is. When they talk about Internet security, for example, they'll say, not only do you have to worry about being hacked, you may have already been hacked. Okay, so now my question is, as we close, what does an ideal client look like for you?
Typically, an ideal client is one that is progressive and proactive. They are on the verge of rapid growth, and they are committed to doing what it takes to take their organization to the next level. Typically, they have between 10 to 70 employees is our sweet spot. We certainly have clients with 2 and 3 employees, and we have clients with well over 100 employees. But that 10 to 70 is typically where I'm too small to be big and I'm too big to be small and I don't have enough to invest in the technologies and the people, I'm going to consider outsourcing my HR department for now anyway. There is an approval process that clients have to go through, a risk assessment. Typically, I don't have any problems having folks in the tech space approved, but if you've got a few workers up on a roof, we may, we may need to talk, but that's not really the profile of your audience. So, but really it's like-minded. Our clients all think very similar. They care about their employees. They see their employees as assets, and they want to understand, how do I maximize my greatest asset and get the most capacity out of them in order to drive revenues and profitability?
I got to tell you, good stuff, Joanne. I mean, it's again, one of the amazing things that we get a chance to do is to discuss so many different aspects. I often say to our listeners, I can't come as a subject matter expert. I come as a tourist, and I just kind of go but every time I do, it's almost like going to a location you haven't been before. You want to just go back and say, my gosh, of course, wow. Hey, Joanne, what you guys are doing is right on the spot. I think our listeners understand it and have a better clarity as to what are some of their options, and maybe not even options, but something that they need to take action about and not doing it the same old way. But in any case, thank you so much for sharing such really good insight with us and taking time out of what I know is an extremely busy schedule to join us for a few minutes today on Tech Talk.
Absolutely. Thank you, Frank. It's been my pleasure.